U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who is on a 3-day visit to West Asia, has called for urgent steps to restore calm between Israel and Palestine. The appeal comes amid spiraling tensions in that region. Blinken met Israel's top leadership, including Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, during a visit to Jerusalem. He condemned the attack near a synagogue that put Israel on high alert. He reiterated America's support for expansion of the Abraham Accords. Blinken also said that the accords cannot be a substitute for a two-state solution and affirmed that it is the only path forward in the long-running Israel-Palestinian conflict.
We'll also discuss the deteriorating security situation in the West Bank, the ongoing cycle of violence that has claimed innocent lives. It's incumbent on all parties to take urgent steps to de-escalate tensions, establish conditions for the security and stability that both Israelis and Palestinians deserve. As I discussed with both the Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister, we'll do the same with President Abbas. The United States stands ready to support the parties in this vital effort.
Blinken also met Israel's President Herzog and spoke about the ongoing demonstrations in the country over the proposed judicial reforms. He urged on building of consensus over the new reforms.
Mr. President, your leadership, the clarity of your voice when it comes to working to de-escalate tensions here among communities, the clarity of your voice when it comes to finding a good way forward that builds consensus on the question of judicial reform.
The United States of America is our closest ally. Our bonds with the United States are extremely strong. I would say even transcends politics and times, simply something that is deeply psychological and emotional.
Blinken will be meeting Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas later today. His arrival has come at a time of one of the deadliest periods of fighting in years. An Israeli military raid last Thursday killed 10 Palestinians in the flashpoint town of Jenin in the West Bank. While on Friday, a gunman killed 7 people outside a synagogue in an East Jerusalem settlement. A day later, a 13-year-old boy or Palestinian boy shot and wounded 2 Israelis in East Jerusalem. The bloodshed has alarmed the Biden administration as it attempts to find common ground with Netanyahu's new right-wing government. And for more on this, our correspondent Susan Teherani has sent us this report.
Earlier in January, U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan visited Israel to meet with the new Israeli government. And while his visit paved the way for U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken's visit to the country, his trip also provided an opportunity for the United States to advance another strategic policy, developing an integrated regional security architecture. Many in the Biden administration believe that the United States needs to reorient its military forces and national resources, one, to deter China, and secondly, to halt Russia aggression in Europe. But to do that, something needs to give. Ultimately, the U.S. military footprint in the Middle East will need to see a drawdown. But how is that possible with all the risk that it entails? Perhaps by bringing together a collective of partners in the Middle East and bringing them together in a multilateral security framework and architecture. And while the Abraham Accords have been a successful start, notably economically, many analysts believe that some kind of security framework and architecture will ultimately be needed as well. Susan Teherani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.